Welcome back to Romantasy Chaos HQ, the podcast. We are Avery and Xavier Harleston, healthcare professionals by day, romantasy theorists, and aspiring authors by night. Today we have a very special bonus episode of Romantasy Chaos Unmasked, where we're going to explore deeper themes and meaning across the body of work. But first, this is your warning. There will be spoilers for the entire Empyrean series. If you've not read all 3 books, it may be time to turn back. We are not rated E for everyone. Xavier has a degree in cussing. He's not afraid to use it. And we do discuss any and all adult topics covered in these books. Today, we are joined by special guest, Claire. If you've been around the Romantasy Chaos HQ Instagram page, you probably recognize her from various collaborations we've done. But I'm going to ask you, Claire, to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Claire. So we have a page called Ruining Books, and basically I was kind of getting together with friends every week talking about books after Onyx Storms was released, and we thought we should maybe record some of our thoughts and then post them. Not quite enough for like a podcast or anything like that, but just some little things here and there. So we share theories, thoughts, a lot of fantasy, romantasy, a lot of fourth wing, which is why we collab with you a lot. So yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that we met each other through Instagram. This has just been absolutely a delight, getting to know you. And before we dive in to the real meat and potatoes, since we are not going to be on the clock for this the way we typically are in our normal episodes, we do want to do a round of rapid fire get to know you questions to kind of honor our time bound aspect of the podcast. So, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Which Imperium book is your favorite?
Fourth wing.
What's your favorite quote from the entire series?
The right way isn't the only way, but you have to take that one in context.
And if you could be a side character, anyone besides Xaden or Violet, who would you be and why?
Jasenia, because I just want to read all day.
Oh, that's fun. I like that. But I will be honest, the way they describe the glue smell in the archives, I don't know if I could do it. I'm very sensitive to smells.
It sounds like it would be really quiet. Like they have, it's like old school library, like really quiet. And that's a lot of silence. I don't know if I could do that. But
Yeah, and they have to sign. So there's not even talking.
Well, they don't have to sign. They can talk. She just signs because she's hard of hearing.
Oh.
You're my favorite special boy.
hey, there's been a lot of people who also had that realization at some point. Too,
Yes.
so you're not alone.
I really thought it was all scribes. Okay.
No. Markham doesn't sign.
Yeah, but I don't
Evil. But he's evil. So
I don't like
Right.
I don't
He
think
can be
Asher
bothered.
signed. Yeah, like Asher definitely talked to Violet. She talks about hearing his voice in her
Well,
head.
why does Violet know how to sign?
Because she also knows like 14 other languages.
Well, good for Violet.
All right.
Totally off topic. Anyway.
So good. So, like I said, instead of decoding a single epigraph, today we are going to focus on the bonus chapters from Rebecca Yarros that she has shared. They are essentially chapter 9, chapter 16, and chapter 27 of Fourth Wing, but from Xaden's point of view. And for everyone who doesn't know, these are available for download or to read directly on her website. So we'll link them in the show notes. Chapter 9 is when Xaden and Violet spar on the mat, and he teaches her like ways to hurt him
And hate flirt.
Because she's not attracted to what's her quote? I'm not attracted to toxic men. That's what it is. And then chapter 16 covers that period of time after she has bonded to Taryn and Andarna, and they're on the flight field, and the Empyrean leaves to go make their decision. And they're waiting for the Empyrean to return to announce whether she gets to stay bonded to both dragons. And then chapter 27 is when they visit Montserrat and Mira. So they're all available for from on Rebecca Yarros' website. And I think I want to just point out the first point of view chapter we ever got from Xaden was at the end of Fourth Wing, because that came out first. Then we got chapter 9 and 16 from Xaden's point of view before Iron Flame came out. And then we got chapter 27 from Xaden's point of view before Onyx Storm came out. So there are things, I think, because of what came to light in Iron Flame, we get a little bit more about Xaden in chapter 27, because we already know more about him. But we really enjoyed the bonus chapters, and want to start us off by reading one of my favorite quotes from chapter 9, which is, "Took me all of 2 weeks to realize she's somehow figured out who she'll be facing and has been poisoning her opponents. That brilliant, devious mind might regrettably be a complete turn on, but she's going to get herself killed if she depends solely on that method." And I love this because this is like our earliest, the very first indication we get of Xaden's inner monologue about his attraction to Violet. And I'd like to pose the theory that Xaden is actually sapiosexual, which,
So
for those who don't know, is sexually attracted to intelligence, essentially.
I think this could definitely be true, especially because we know what Xaden's ability is and able to read intentions. So him being able to like clock what people are thinking and what's going through their mind and their, their intentions, obviously, why wouldn't he be attracted to intelligence and attracted to the brains or the minds of people? And I mean, the way that he describes her, I mean, yeah, of course, he also talks about like the smell of her citrus in her hair, and we do see physical attributes too, but I think that they're outweighed by like how smart and intelligent she is.
Yeah, and he comments about how quickly she processes and moves through emotion, and how that's like such an asset for her, and that the ability to think quickly and adapt and hide your emotions from people is this really awesome characteristic. And I don't think you gravitate towards that if like their mind isn't front and center for what you're being attracted to.
I just think it's a refreshing viewpoint because I don't know that we always get this in books. And like I'm going to go way back to Shakespeare because I teach Romeo and Juliet every year. And my students always say, "Oh, Romeo is so in love with Juliet. Look at what he did for her." And I'm like, "Go find me one quote in that play that says something about her personality because there are none in there." And we get so used to like, the idea of lust and those kinds of things and mistaking the two. So it's refreshing to see Xaden's point of view and how he thinks of her because Violet never refers to herself as like hot or anything like that either. So it's just kind of cool to see.
Yeah, and he mentions we're gonna talk about the mind bond in a little bit, but he mentions like the mind bond. The first thing he says is, "This would be fun, and then it would be fun when I was in bed with her." Right? Like the concept that he would be mentally connected to her while they are being intimate, he finds incredibly hot. And again, every time he cycles back to like this would be the hottest thing, it is her brain.
Yeah, in chapter 27, from his point of view, he says, "Gods, I'll never get enough of this woman. Her mind, her tenacity, her mouth." And in this regard, I don't think he means her mouth for kissing. I think he means her sassiness, because he often, in his point of view, compares her wit and her sarcasm to Segale, and how that's something that he like. No one on the continent is sharper tongued than Segale, except for maybe Violet. And it's such a quality that he admires so much. And not to suggest there's anything weird between him and Segale, but
Well, no,
definitely.
but Sigale's his first love, like
Well,
his
that,
highest
yes,
love, right? I mean, like the
yes.
so like if the thing that he admires about Sigale is her mind and her wit, and first love from the Lilith point of view exist across the dragon rider bond, then like he's not talking about that she's this great powerful dragon. He's talking about like how awesome her wit is, and then moving that over to Sigale's, I mean, I moved that over to Violet, who really does reinforce this. Like he is, like he falls in love with like the mind.
It tracks with the series really well because, like, that's what Rebecca Yarros writes about. Like, that's with her. Uh, I'm probably gonna say it wrong. Ehlers down Danlos, EDS or whatever, right?
Ehlers Danlos?
There we go.
EDS?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said that out loud before. I've only read it. She focuses on how you can overcome those things and how it doesn't have to be about physicalities. So
Well, and I think this is also this we had not planned to discuss this.
Any and all
But I'm
topics.
going to say it. This idea, like peop we see often in the fandom that people talk about how powerful Violet is because she's bonded to Terran. And as we have proposed this theory that Terran might die, and in book 4, um, and there's a lot of like, well, if Terran dies, she won't be a writer, she won't be powerful. And I actually feel like with everything that Rebecca Yarros has set up, Rebecca Yarros keeps consistently coming back to this idea that strength isn't necessarily only physical, and that strength of will and your intelligence, your ability to solve problems, your ability to work with other people, your ability to get through something that seems absolutely unsurvivable by relying on those around you and being part of a team is really what the definition of strength is. And I think it kind of um it's the same thing. It's like attraction. Yes, there's lust, which I think she really uses that word a couple times in the book to talk about this physical aspect of the immediate chemistry and desire for someone physically. But then there's attraction. And Xaden definitely experiences this attraction, which is certainly sexual, um, first based on Violet's mind and who she is, which is absolutely refreshing.
Well, and so I just started reading last night Full Measures, and I have learned two things about Rebecca Yarros. One, she will kill anyone off, and she will destroy you as she does it. And it's like in the first pages. Anyway, so Full Measures, like you should hold somebody's hand while you start that book. It's a lot.
He literally woke up and he's like, I did something and I'm going to need you to hold my hand when I tell you. I'm like, what did you do? He's like,
no.
I started reading Full Measures and I'm like, oh, sweet summer child.
This the second thing, like, and it's her first book, right? But she already sets up in that book this massive difference between lust and the other characteristics. And the main love interest, like she is like completely lusting for him, but like is also just stacking up all of the other qualities that are really sucking her in and drawing her in because like they've known each other since high school. So like she's always like lusted after him. But he's like now this other person with all these good qualities, right? So Rebecca Jarvis clearly writes from this divide between lust and then, other qualities. And so much is baked into Xaden going after the other qualities of Violet, particularly in his POV.
Yeah, I love it. It makes me, I would say that Violet's experience of Xaden to me is not nearly as attractive as Xaden's experience of Xaden to me. Like, he can come off a little aloof and withholding, and um, I don't know, just not quite it for me. But then being in his point of view and the way that he notices and appreciates Violet is very attractive.
I wish that
And
we could see like a little snippet of how he thinks of Kat because I know it would be so different because Kat is so attractive. We know she's super attractive, but he's obviously not attracted to her. So it would just be cool to see his point of view on that.
yes, he makes that one comment about how um and this is from chapter 27. I've never wanted anyone the way I want her, never craved a woman's laugh as much as her touch, or needed her trust more than my
Mhm.
next breath, only Violet.
I love that part.
I love it. And you teach 14 and 15-year-olds. And we, have pretty openly allowed our 15-year-old son to read the Fourth Wing series because we do feel like, you know, a, it's better than, the things that his friends might be
Finding on the internet.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice way of putting it. And it's centering the female gaze and the female experience. But I do think it is also just reinforcing this idea that who someone is so much more important in the grand scheme of things. Who they are is what is attractive, and for Violet, that's her incredible intelligence um, and wit. And I will say, I don't well. I don't know. Our son has a crush on a girl. uh, and
Yeah, our son has a crush on a smart girl who's not dating boys, so it's a problem.
yeah, but we were like, it's okay if you have this crush, but if she's not, interested in dating, there's other girls, you don't need to date, but if you want to have someone to go with you to the dance, ask someone else. And he's like, no one else is as smart as she is.
Oh, that is so cute. That's how you know you've done well.
I love it. So I feel like this is obviously all parents are going to have a different viewpoint of when it's appropriate for a young person to read a story that has explicit content in it, whether that's the murder or the language or the sex.
Or the dragon executions.
Yes. Yes.
There's a lot.
But yeah, so I think this is such a positive message. And um, not that other writers haven't done it, but I feel like this, and especially in Xaden's point of view, is maybe it's the best it's been done that I've seen in this genre.
Well, and I think it's a little fascinating as I'm just pondering it that, Fourth Wing seems very fantasy focused, and Rebecca Yarros' romance writer is there, and you get it in the beats. But like in Xaden's point of view, like I feel like she's much more of a romance writer. Like this is a love story, and she has us in Xaden's point of view to explain what he actually loves about Violet and to make us like Xaden even more, which makes me even more worried about his villain era, because if she feels like we need to really like him, then she's really gonna mess with him, and someone might have to hold my hand during book 4 too.
We're all gonna need that. We're not ready.
We're gonna just need to form a chain across the nation as we read book 4. But yeah, and this kind of brings us to this connection between
Mhm.
Violet and Xaden, which is something that we knew. There's a lot of discourse about it, about what is the nature of this connection between Violet and Xaden. And in her Disney Fantasy Fangirls interview, Rebecca Yarros had talked about how we will learn more about what she called the partner bond in book 4, and that we will learn about it from someone who's not Violet and Xaden. So this is when it's for the riders of a mated pair. It describes that bond. And I love, while we kind of get a little bit of talking, we get this very brief passage from Violet in Fourth Wing when she figures out how to talk back to Xaden down their bond, where she describes the power coming from Terran and the window of golden light coming from Andarna and the onyx shadow at the roof line, something like that. But we get a much more explicit discussion of what this bond is, in Xaden's POV. So in chapter 16, immediately after they're still on the flight field, they're not even sure that General Melgren's not sure that she's going to get to keep both of her dragons. And he says, "I lower." So this is a quote: "I lower my shields just enough to feel for the bond. The hard sapphire one I share with Sigil is locked into place as always. But now there are two more. The Onyx I recognize as Terran, and the other a glimmering strand of silver, like the ends of her hair. Fuck. He really did bond her. Only a mating bond like Sigale and Terran's could link me to another rider, whether or not I want it. And then in chapter 27, when they're at Montserrat, the first time that he speaks into Violet's mind, he kind of discusses the bond with Sigale. And he says, I crack open my shields just enough to sense that wispy silver bond that's been steadily growing between the two of us, the one she hasn't noticed yet. And Sigale says, I told you it's been known to happen between riders of bonded pairs. And he describes feeling Violet's emotions down the bond later in that chapter. And also says, this isn't just fun, it's instantly vital to my existence.
So the question is, are the colors significant? I mean, there's lots of questions here, but like, are the colors significant, or did she just choose those because those are like convenient colors, right? It's like Yale is blue and Darna is gold, even though she's not really gold, right? And then obviously the one between them is silver. So that silver that represents Violet. Why is it silver, and how her hair and all the coincidences there?
Oh, I finally get to do it.
Okay.
Okay,
Go.
I've been working on we were holding it for this conversation. So, Taryn calls her Silver One the first thing he ever says to her, and then
Okay.
he later in Fourth Wing refers to her as Silver Human. And then we also know from Umbriel, the only place where the people that are dedicated to Dune, their hair actually turns silver, is in Umbriel. In Navarre, they have to dye it. They have to like bleach their hair out to make it that silver color. So there is some sort of Dune magic that turns people's hair silver. And I think this is proof that Violet is blessed by Dune, and that just like there's a black dragon or a blue dragon, like she's like a silver line of human and is actually, blessed by Dune. And some days I play with maybe like she's actually descended from Dune, but there is this very clear Dune blessing connection in my head, and it hits from the moment we get any point of view from the dragons with regard to Terran calling her Silver One long before he had any other communication.
So do we think that he called her Silver One because he just sees the silver hair, and then it happens that the bond is silver too? I mean,
I
it's
I
crazy.
yeah,
Did
I
he
mean, I definitely
recognize? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, we're never gonna know because Rebecca Yarros swears we're never getting a dragon POV, but, I think, like, soon as he bonded her, it was a silver bond, and he was like, "Oh,
Sure.
that's not normal. My last riders didn't have these, like, particular bonds, like, or particular colors."
Hmm. Well, and Violet describes her bond with Terran as orange power, even though Terran's black. So then her bond to Xaden is black.
Didn't
So
Xaden describe the bond to Terran as black or onyx?
Yes.
yes, so
So it's
his
interesting that their
bond,
bonds are different.
yes. Because I think later in Fourth Wing, when Violet realizes she has a bond to Sigale, she describes it as blue.
Yes.
Um,
And are blue and sapphire the same color?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different colors of sapphire, but most of them are blue. Yeah.
Technically, you can have a red sapphire,
Okay,
but you can also have blue sapphires.
just seeking clarification.
Um, yeah, so this is there the the bond itself. So when in Onyx Storm, Leothan says bonds are merely magical ties. When you bond a dragon, I've always imagined, and maybe this isn't correct, that the dragon forges the bond. The dragon's magic creates the bond, much like the dragon gives the relic. But then, because I guess the bond that she has directly to Sigale and the bond that she has directly to Xaden, and in reverse for him, the bond that he has directly to Taryn or to her. Who forged that? Where did that come from? And does it happen to every single writer pair?
Because
Partner?
Sigale says it's been known to happen between writers of bonded pairs. And that wording I think is interesting because, like, oh, it's been known to happen. It's not that happens with, it's not like this does happen. It's it sometimes happens is how I interpret that.
Well, well, and Xaden says whether or not I wanted it to happen. I'm like, dude, you wanted it to happen.
Of
Like,
course you did.
like we definitely get in chapter 9 when you're on the mat with her that you already love her mind, and as soon as that partner bond happened and you could have access to her mind, yeah, you wanted it, hundred
And
percent.
he describes it as wispy at first, and then as it grows, kind of like how they talk about how the bonds get stronger with Taryn's writers. Like that bond has to grow. It's like they have to kind of both accept it almost. I mean, I don't think that they can reject it, but I like
They
that
have
it grows
to, yeah.
stronger.
Yeah, that they have to like because in chapter 27 he's like, how come Taryn hasn't told her about it? She doesn't even know that it's there until chapter 28. And then but it's very clear in chapter 27 he talks about like pride coursing down the bond from her. So she's sending information to him whether or not she's acknowledged that the bond is there. He's receiving messages from her. And so like there are these instances, and I think we see it more we know for sure in Fourth Wing that he shares a memory of the night before with Violet. And presumably that's down their partner bond. Which, happens after chapter 27. But if he's getting emotions and he's sharing a memory down the bond, how interconnected does this partner bond make their minds, do you think?
Well, like, and later in Onyx Storm, kind of with going with what you're saying, and we see them sharing stuff when she's not throwing it down the bond. And then that leaves us with the question: is him becoming an intrinsic stronger, or is it their partner bond that they're just becoming so like melded together that they don't even think about it anymore? Their minds are just literally one.
Well, and she keeps saying I didn't remember saying that out loud. I didn't remember saying that out loud.
Or the throne room scene where she
Yes,
literally is like
exactly.
experiencing like from his like almost like being in his body and her own body at the same time. Weird. Violet's favorite thing to say when we're supposed to pay attention to something but not know what it means. Weird. Just like go in your Kindle and look for the word weird every time.
That would be a good post. The number of times Violet told us things were weird.
What it actually is code for is pay attention.
Not that someone has gone into their Kindle and searched for weird and looked at every reference.
No, I'm sure you've never done that. No, yeah.
Why would I do that? Do you think, so this is something we've kind of talked a little bit about, like, can you become dangerously and so how intertwined are the minds of dragons who are mated? Because we know that Sigale withholds information from Taryn, and when we find out when Xaden shares about his second signet at the end of Iron Flame, and Taryn like definitely didn't know and felt this huge betrayal. So even though their lives are interconnected, their minds are still separate enough that they can keep things from each other. But do you think like human minds, I don't know, to me, the dragons have like these magical brains because they're magical creatures. Their brains are magical. Like it's just different than a human brain, right?
Okay, so I wonder if we can look to the dragons to kind of answer that, because remember that, isn't it Melgrin has a mate and they can communicate, Coda has a mate and Coda can communicate with his mate from like really, really far away, like longer than Taryn and Sigale, right? Am I making that up?
It's not Coda.
It's not. Okay.
But they do talk about that couple that have been
different
mated
one.
longer.
You're right. It's not Coda, but there is one. And so their bond grows and gets a lot stronger to the point, but there's, I don't know. I don't know if I like the idea of their minds becoming so meshed that they can't even think separately, because that seems like an anti-autonomy message that would not be sent by Rebecca Yarros. But I do like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I could see where like the dream walking aspect and this bond, like there is a plot point where like they have to figure out how to become unintertwined. Right? I don't think Rebecca Yarros would leave them intertwined.
No.
But I could see where between Berwin and Violet and Xaden and their bond, things went hinky. Where like she couldn't keep secrets from Xaden, which would make his villain era worse.
Yeah.
What if the bond, we know that there's a bond between the initiate or the ASIM and their sage or maven? And what if that mimics the dragon mate bond and will then forge another bond between Violet and Berwin?
Oh, that'd be wild.
Wow, I would love a Violet Berwin mind fight.
Mind battle.
That would be amazing.
Is it like in the Matrix where if you don't like die in the
Oh, I don't. Well, all I have in my head now is that Disney movie with the sword and the stone where they have the wizard battle.
All right.
Yeah, well,
I mean, we already almost see that happening though in Xaden's dream and Onyx Storm, where Berwin and Violet are both in there dream walking. I mean, who's to say that that isn't why it is? There isn't some weird bond between all three of them now.
Where like maybe because I believe Berwin is a dream walker. I think he's probably the only other dream walker out there.
Yeah.
Or at least the only experienced dream walker. And could it be that because this was, well, it happens before Xaden turns in Iron Flame. The first time it happens that she walks in his dreams is before he turns. So maybe not. But
how much would it turn Xaden on if he's sapiosexual, if Violet's brilliant fucking mind is what drives Berwin out of his mind?
And then they have the dream sex. Because like my biggest problem with dream sex is like, how do you know Berwin's not going to just walk into your dream?
Oh, that's not sexy.
Exactly.
The only thing less sexier than that is Rebecca Yarros' note about Jack sex.
That's so funny.
Like I don't think that Berwin is a like creeper in that way, but like it feels to me that you would be, kind of vulnerable in these intimate moments, and that would be a good time for Berwin to like come in and be like, "Hiya,"
Really wage some war.
because
they don't have any weapons on them.
because in his dream everyone is kung fu fighting.
I'd read that fanfic for sure. If it's not in the book, let's write it.
I love we don't have a clock and we can just laugh and the clock's not going to run out. Oh man.
Okay. Well, welcome to our dinner table.
I love it.
That's very. I've really kind of made my stomach upset with my own theory.
Let's not add in, what if Jack's a dreamwalker too, and then he decides to jump in? I mean, they could just get a little wild there. But
no. Oh no, I'm gonna not even propose that theory broadly because I can't. I will gross myself out about it. But yeah, so I think that's and the other thing is this partner bond versus when Taryn refers to Xaden as Violet's mate. Now, Rebecca Yarros has very publicly said she doesn't like the fated mates trope because it does remove the aspect of choice. And like choice is such a like, can you actually be in love with someone if you have no choice about it? Essentially, you
Right.
like, you know. So I don't know if he is. Do you think that because this special bond exists between Violet and Xaden, the same as kind of like the special bond exists between dragons who are mated, that he's just kind of like equivocating? That the bond is what makes him her mate? Do you know what I'm saying? Okay,
Like,
you're
would they
both.
be
Yeah.
together if that bond didn't exist?
Well, that the presence of that special bond essentially gives Xaden the status of mate for Violet.
I see what you're saying.
Yes. Well,
Mm.
that would be weird though, because like, what if you were not Violet and Xaden, and you're like, what if it was Coda and like, I don't know, Coda and Kath, and who were mated, and then like Dane and Belgrin had this special partner bond. Would that give Dane and Melgren the status of being mates? No.
Mates.
Okay, no. See, I've just given myself
Yeah.
another gross theory.
See, I kind of had my interpretation is that he refers to them as mates because dragons are mates. And so that's just the terminology that Taryn uses. They're mates because he would probably also refer to Riddick and whoever Riddick is with at the time as mates if they were like together permanently, you know? Like that's just his wording. And it works out that they're also, I don't know.
Or like Mira and Drake.
Sure.
Would he call them mates, even though like Drake is clearly, I mean, he's bonded to a griffin, and so whatever their whole thing is, we don't really know. Taryn probably knows because dragons and griffins apparently like gossip, but know each other's lore.
Same.
But yeah, I don't know. But I'm very excited to learn about this bond.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had forgotten that was in there, and it was so fun on the reread.
And
The other
then that he was
thing,
like toying with her at the beginning. I just love seeing him toying with her. And he waited till the most like inappropriate moment to just drop into his head. You can just picture her face being like, like
yes, and then when she gives him the finger,
it's good.
yes,
Good
Violet,
writing
that
right
was
there.
perfect. So then in the end, so when they're at Montserrat, the other big thing that happens is the wards go down.
Yeah.
And so in Violet's point of view, it's just like Mira gets the warning, she gets a warning from Taryn, the wards are down. And they have to get out of there. When we're in Xaden's bonus chapter, we know Imogen is out delivering 24 alloy hilted daggers. And 24 alloy hilted daggers would not be enough to impact the wards. And Xaden senses he talks about unnatural quiet falls and unease ripples down my spine at the lack of the steady, quiet hum of background noise that always accompanies proximity to stored power. My stomach clenches, the wards are down. And then Sigil's like, hey, there's a drift incoming 20 minutes away, by the way. So how do you think the wards went down? Because the drift is
So
not fair. He actually says wards will only fall this quickly if the power supply is compromised or stolen. And he says, is this us? And Scale says no, which means we have enemies within the keep already.
So 2 pages before that is when we hear of, I'm pretty sure the first time that he refers to them as the Signis flyers, like the flyers from the province of Signisen over in Port Mail, right? So there's a few provinces over there. So I think we're left assuming that it is that it is a group of them who is maybe leading this attack. Because he notes that if Imogen had run into them, that they would just kill her for fun, right? But what you're asking is how the heck does the power just get cut like that immediately? Because how would a flyer get in there and be there to suddenly take the daggers and move them, right?
Yeah, and like hightail it. Like, I imagine if 24 daggers is not enough to impact the wards, there's got to be crates and crates of these daggers. Like, and I don't know how heavy that would be, but they're made of metal. I mean, it's not going to be lightweight. It's not going to be small. It's going to be bulky and heavy. So, like, do we really think they just instantaneously they're out of range and the wards fall? Or do you think someone drained them?
I mean, that seems like the most reasonable answer, except for who. I guess we have to decide, is it the Signisan Flyers then? And would they have a Venin working on their side? Because it seems wild to have a Venin on their side.
Well, you know, the Signy Flyers are the ones who don't show up in Onyx Storm.
Mm-hmm. They eventually do, but
And
yeah, it takes a while.
yeah, and everyone, they're kind of like sus, right? So maybe, but like, could it have been so? Yeah, I don't know. We know like people like Pancheck work with the Venom. Could someone within who had already Venom be working with the? Could someone, a writer who's stationed at the outpost, who's also Venom already, be working with the Flyers? Because it could be mutually beneficial in the sense that they get to continue to drain the daggers, and everyone just automatically assumes it's related to Poromil. And so they're not looking for like, do we have a Venin in our midst?
Sure.
Well, I mean, but if they're 20 minutes out from the edge of the wards when they fall, so I mean that's like a distance that a Venom could just wander across and like come in and drain them. I mean, like it may not be like a super coordinated attack, or they may have just made a deal with somebody that they didn't fully understand. That's just like, I'll bring down the wards at 11:05, and they're just like, sweet, we'll attack, and not really ask the questions on how.
But wouldn't the
Um,
whole point of attacking Montserrat be to steal the daggers in order to have them as weapons to use against Venin?
you would think, well, but Avery didn't like my other theory that it was Garrick.
Oh, tell me more.
I was like, the distance wielder for the Venom can't work under the wards, but Garrick can. So like Garrick could have like distance wheeled it in, loaded up his dragon, and distance wheeled it out. And like, given the drop wasn't 24, it was like 10, and been like, it's fine. Xaden's there. He'll shadow everybody. It'll be fine.
Yeah, because my immediate response was like, no way would Xaden have like approved of this plan. He freaking flew with Sigale across the country after 3 days because he couldn't stop worrying about Violet being that close to the border and being unprotected. No way do I think he would sanction a plan where the wards are purposely brought down just to give more daggers to Poromil. Unless you're suggesting that Garrick is.
I'm suggesting maybe Garrick's a little more independent minded than we're led to believe. It's on the list of plausible examples.
Hmm.
Yeah, that whole scene, I think you're right. There's something missing because it really doesn't make sense that the wars are magically gone, but all of the flyers are 20 minutes out. So who is the one who took down the wards and why? And if the wards are down, then that means that the daggers are not working. So why would they come and steal the daggers? Because they're not functional. So where did they go? Unless there was, or maybe they were long distance. I mean, Venom can pop in and out, but not within the wards. They can pop out of the wards once they're down.
Can flyers imbue the alloy? We know writers can, but can fly? So, like the alloy holds magic.
Mm-hmm.
But we also know that dragon eggs are a part of the alloy. And so is there something specific about having the dragon egg shell in the alloy that makes it capable of holding like dragon magic? Can they imbue? But the, we have long felt that griffins were the key to all of this. And now I'm more convinced than ever. Why do we not know more about the griffins? Honestly, oof.
Well, and like
Griffins hatched or born? Do
eggs,
griffins have shells?
they have to have shells. They're eagles, right?
Well,
Well,
they're lion eagles.
I definitely vote towards leathery shells,
Oh, so not something you could put into like not a metal alloy.
not a metal alloy.
Mm. So that's why
maybe
they
they're
had
all
to
like
use the runes.
Maybe a magical sash.
maybe it's like when a baby is still born in its sack. Like it's both. They have to be born and then hatched.
Do griffins have hatching grounds? Or
Yes, they're
reproductive grounds, I guess, if they're not hatched?
I mean, it would be
That
cool if we
was-
knew, except for that all the books have been destroyed. So
We are freaking right there. We're on freaking Quest Squad with them. Why is no one asking these questions?
Tara knows.
Because we know the griffins and the dragons are all gossipy.
I have no idea why Violet never asked any of these questions.
Girl.
I also have questions about Mira's signet while we're talking about the wards, because she can create and extend wards, but I don't understand how that works because the wards are like a man-created thing, right? Like they crafted the wards using different magic, different materials, and different runes. And magically she has this signet that can recreate those same conditions. I feel like that's the same thing as being like, oh, my signet is to make soda, right? Like it's just like this man-created thing, and I don't understand where it comes from.
Claire, to your point on like how does she extend and create the wards, because like that does seem a little like man-made. I like the soda analogy. What if she can turn herself into alloy? What if she's like turning her like metal in her bloodstream into like alloy and then imbuing it so like she is like a walking ward stone?
Like
And
it's
like
not quite the same thing, but it's serving the same function. Yeah.
yeah. Because it's kind of described as like a bubble around her. Like she can't like project it. I mean, like it's not like she like can create a ward over there. It's around her, right?
Or is this just a case of Car being Car and misnaming what she's doing?
Is that she's really metallurgy?
Well, maybe.
Or she's just
That's-
blocking all magic. Like he's calling it a
Yes.
ward, but it's just a block of like no magic can penetrate her little bubble.
Right. Like, and could she, like, so we know that she makes that magic bubble with Brennan and Violet in Corden, and holds them inside it. But let's say that she, we know by Onyx Storm, she can make bigger wards. Or even at the end of Iron Flame, she can make bigger wards and cover more people. So can they still do magic inside her bubble?
I don't know.
Is this why her runes work on the island?
Well, if she's alloy, she's stored magic.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Why? So many questions.
we have drifted very far from the bonus chapters into whether or not Mira turns herself into alloy like some Marvel superhero becoming like Steelman or whatever.
Well, and then it talks about how she creates the sound shield and it's blue tinged. But Xaden talks about his sound shield is invisible. And then there's also in Onyx, the sound shield like rune that they put down during signet sparring,
That's also invisible.
which is invisible. So is there something significant about her sound shield being blue?
Maybe this is a question one of us needs to try and submit to Rebecca Yarros when we see her in the next month. Like, was Mira's signet misnamed? She'd probably be like, "Where are you getting these questions?" The podcast.
Uh, oh my goodness. I I think what if one day Rebecca Yarros listened to our podcast and was just like, these people, I need security. I need security from these people.
Well, and sometimes I feel like we hash these great, theories, and then I'm just like, we have overthought it more than she has. She's just writing her book, living off vibes, and we're fact checking her.
Well, she was rereading chapter 56, so clearly she's like, I gotta make sure my magic system is consistent. Did you ever see that picture?
Because of people like us, she's probably like, I was just going to write the book, but now I got to go fact check some stuff.
I don't know. She said she wrote a 50-page summary when she submitted the idea.
That's not a summary.
That's not a summary. I've known people who wrote an entire doctoral dissertation and their summary was not 50 pages. But yeah, so have you ever seen the books that she keeps, her desk copy? She had posted a picture once with her desk copy of the books and it has all these tabs. And I'm like, what is it? What is she tabbing?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
It would be great to know that.
Yeah.
But this is legitimately our dinner table conversation, which is how our son, ended up with what if she uses Terran's eyesight and her lightning to be a sniper? He's like, wouldn't that be amazing? Because Violet should be able to get accurate enough that lightning can hit miles away. I'm like, that sounds fantastic, and it's not in the book.
So this is where all of your guys' theories come from. It's those teenage brains also helping you with some of that creativity.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're very unhinged.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Particularly the one that contributes that hasn't read the books.
Yes. Yes.
Funny. So speaking of also your guys' theories, you guys have the big one about Melgren, and the one other thing that I noted in here that I wanted to discuss was we see Xaden's opinion of Melgren. And he's this is at Threshing, and the quote was that General Melgren takes the front of the dais. My skin crawls just like it always does when he's near. Fucking murderer. And I think this is so interesting because I am fully on board with Melgren is an asset to the rebellion. He's living his own secret life, but him and Coda are, are with the rebellion. But it's weird because Xaden says this and does not like Melgren. His skin crawls, and Xaden can read his intentions. So what is it, just that he's got this, awful memory of what Melgren did and he can't overlook that? Or is Melgren really a bad guy? I don't know.
Or is it the magic of the rebellion relic? I find it very interesting. It says my skin crawls, and every other time we're hearing from Xaden, he's super, grounded and secure, and his point of view is always fairly stoic. So to use the phrasing "my skin crawls," I'm very curious if it literally his skin crawls. There's something with Melgren being near and the rebellion relic and the way that Coda placed the rebellion relic, that it literally has a magical tinglingness that feels like there's something going on that's trying to actually keep them separate. Right. And that kind of gets into
repelling magnet.
Repelling magnet kind of stuff, because I do think that General Melgren's an asset, but I think Coda's all in, right? So I think Coda's one of the key figures in the whole rebellion and with driving the Empyrean. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did something to encode the magic that they repel. They physically don't want to be near each other.
Well, and how Violet talks about her scalp tingling all the time in Fourth Wing when Xaden is using his signet on her.
Oh, we do have this whole skin tingling thing. It would be interesting if it was if the theory we have that Coda bonded the Mark ones, that rebellion relic is a type of bond that when Melgren is near it, it does that skin tingling thing, and he literally feels like a
Hmm.
repulsion.
And potentially, I mean, Melgren's probably always had his shields up. And why would Xaden even be close to Melgren? So it makes sense that if he was repelled, he's never even tried to read any of Melgren's intentions. He's just stayed away, then he wouldn't. That does seem like a protection that would make sense.
Well, because everything would fall apart if Xaden read his intentions, and his intentions were like, "I'm here to help you. Sorry about your dad."
Well, what's really interesting to me is that Xaden calls him a murderer, which who did Melgren murder? Because Coda carried out the executions of the rebellion parents, right? Leaders. I mean, I guess they didn't all have kids. But Coda was the one who carried out the executions at King Tari's order. So, in my mind, I don't know that I think that makes Melgren a murderer. I think, you know, like, so,
Just or not, they were tried and executed, which
right. Yeah. So, like, they, who does Xaden think he murdered?
Though, I mean, he was a kid at the time. And so you might not be making those logical leaps. I'm trying to think of who else it could be, though.
well, and I mean, I do think murderer is an interesting term there, because like we know we know Melgren was responsible for the kids being there. So like, being
Present at the
being absolutely miserable about Melgren and hating him because he made you be there, like, I can totally see. And that could get translated into murderer, but it's an interesting distinction you're making, that is, that doesn't technically fit that word. I mean, it does fit, again, this whole emotional aspect of Xaden, but we don't really experience him, as that kind of like irrational emotion.
I don't know. I feel like there's something here. I feel like there's something here.
And especially because I think you guys have noted this, and like the fact that Violet even says, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Melgren rips off a mask and he was Venom. Just screams, he's not a Venom, he's a good guy.
Exactly.
It's like that's what you do to hide the good guy.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't.
Oh,
I am really. There's something. My brain is just like. I feel like it was
yeah.
right there.
Yep.
But
But thinking about Melgren and Coda and them working together, brings us to like one of my favorite parts of this chapter 27, which is when Mira starts talking about how people are supposed to team up. And they're like, they don't teach us how to team up until third year. So like we don't have any insights from Violet's POV on like what team ups are. Xaden hasn't told us anything about team ups, but they
let's be clear. They're not called team ups. It's called battle strategy. How you work with other people using their signets. Okay.
okay.
So
I'm very excited
it
about the
doesn't say
concept.
team ups.
What does it actually say? We have the quote.
It says, um, well, he kind of think of the power in this room. Think about of what each individual writer brings to the table, and how you'd use those powers in unison to conquer your objective. So that's what Mira says out loud, and Xaden in his POV um, says something along the lines of, he says, fine, Liam scouts their defenses, then I drench the place in shadow for our assault. Half of us dismount while the other half take out the griffins in the air, and I move in darkness below to free the prisoners while Emery directs controlled blasts of fire by air wielding, using Quinn as a scout. So he has this whole strategy of like, here's how we use each of these people's power.
And Quinn's the one that astro projects.
Yes.
So the fire doesn't hurt her astro projected person self.
Yeah.
And the reason that I love this is because I definitely do think of this as like as team up, and I can't get out of my head the concept that Riddick and Garrick would be like the ultimate weapon together against the Wyvern, because Garrick could just step onto the back of a Wyvern with Riddick, and then Riddick could freeze them, and they could just like go take out like 100 Wyvern. without anyone ever being able to attack them. And then we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. The structure of that's a little difficult because
I think I figured out how they could do it. I think it would be even more powerful with Mira, right? Mira, Garrick, and Riddick ride Airtrim. And Garrick, but his dragon flies nearby. Mira keeps them warded. Garrick moves them from like point to point. His dragon's nearby, so he can still have access to his dragon's power. And boom, roasted.
Just,
Okay, but
I
that's
like
like
the
not
description of him
beyond.
carrying Riddick better though.
It's just not beyond the scope of possibility because we see like Xaden and Violet team up. So I mean, maybe it's more in the bedroom, but like she crashes her lightning and his shadows muffle it and keep things from starting on fire. Like
Save the
the same
It's
furniture.
gonna
type of.
work. Teamwork.
Plus, also, would that not be a Rebecca Yarros scene to make exactly what you just said of them like carrying each other and like love
Well,
that.
one of the things that she said on tour was that Xaden and Violet won't get a third signet because they would be too powerful. And one of the things that you have to do is learn to rely on your team. Like, I think that's really kind of her military background. That, you know, no squad is successful because you have one really powerful person doing everything. You're successful as a squad, or as a team. And so I could definitely see that being something that she would do. And then I just want to know, if Xaden's honey bear, what does Garrick call Riddick?
No, but I now have a vision of him like on his shoulders like a chicken fight. And this whole thing where they show up under the wyvern and Riddick can reach up and touch the wyvern's belly while like Garrick's holding on to his legs.
I want there to be a harness, like Andarna's harness, like a little baby Bjorn. Oh, that would be fun.
If there are any artists that listen to our podcast, please draw this. Pretty
Yes,
please.
yes, seriously. Uh,
This.
yeah, I don't know.
Should we just
Oh,
write
no.
that fanfic if it doesn't happen? I mean, we're coming up with lots of ideas today, so.
Absolutely. Well, I love everything we talked about today. I'm so glad that you were able to join us and go on this wild bonus content ride. Um, so tell us where we can find you and follow you and get more of your great ideas.
On TikTok and Instagram, we are Runing Books. It's all one word, RUNINGBOOKS. Why are we named that? Couldn't tell you. Honestly, we don't have a good reason. We just liked the runes, and we feel like we were ruining books by going through them. I don't know. Lots of decisions made at late night a year ago. But anyway, so that's our handle. We're on both of those platforms. We're just always kind of posting a few things here or there. So yeah, that's where we'll be.
We will definitely link you in the show notes. And thank you again for being here and for going on this ride. I'm so excited to continue to share thoughts and ideas with you while we wait for book 4, and then to come back. I think it'd be so fun once book 4 comes out and we've read it and dissected it, to come back and be like, look at all of what we discussed and be like, oh, wrong. Oh, right. But
Thank you so much for having me. It's so much more fun to discuss like over a call rather than like in our comment sections. I sort of like this, so maybe we need to make it happen more. But definitely we need bingo cards for book 4 because that will be really fun for our predictions.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, that is it from us. Y'all let us know what you think about all of these absolutely wild theories, and the not so wild ones, because some of them are very compelling. And I think that Rebecca Yarros definitely is sending us messages in this bonus content. But, so drop a comment, send us an email, let us know what you think. What did we miss? And remember, We love you. Stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Remember, lore lovers, fantasy fanatics, and good girls, like, rate, review, subscribe, and share.